Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Santosh Kati. Uh, Today I'm here to present our work on safety assessment for the construction of residential house in Ontario, Toronto. So this is our first page. So we are five of us, five team members: Avijit, Naveen, Anita, Santosh, myself, and Rajesh. So I'm starting our work presentation. So the introduction part for our buildings, the project is for the safety assessment for the building, and the introduction will be the building is for residential purpose for our family members of 6 people in Toronto, Ontario. The total built-up area for the building is 1,500 square feet, and it has 2 master bedrooms and 3 normal bedrooms. So the two master bedrooms are having attached bathrooms in it. The kitchen will be in the ground floor, and the approximate area of 400 square feet. And two master bedrooms. So there will be one master bedroom will be in the first floor, and two will be in the ground floor. So this is the introduction for just basic introduction for our building. The next part will be the project delivery system. So the delivery system for this project would be construction management delivery system, because the owner is unaware of the construction industry. The owner does not have any knowledge regarding the construction process, construction industry. So in this case, the best delivery system we can provide it with is the construction management delivery system. So a construction manager has been appointed to work on behalf of the owner. So CM agency is acting as the owner's representative during each stage of this project. So the construction manager is representing the client basically. Now starting on with this safety measures for our project and the roles and responsibilities of owners for the maintaining proper job healthy job site or health and safe job site. Since the owner gives the construction job to the contractor, the owner may think that that his job is over, that also that it is the responsibility of contractor to take care of all the health and safety protocols and all the expenses regarding the safety measures. But the owner has some responsibilities, very important responsibilities regarding maintaining the safe workplace. The owner needs to disclose all the site-related hazards to the designers at the beginning of the process or beginning of the paperwork or the construction, and even to the contractor, because if there is some vulnerabilities in the surroundings, or some things can happen that the contractors are unaware of, but then the owner needs to take care of that and inform the contractors. The owner also requires to ask the contractor to produce a site-specific safety plan. So he may ask the contractor to show to assure that all the health and safety protocols are being followed, because ultimately the owners are owning the site, so it is their responsibility to take care of whether the contractors are following the specific plan, whether there is a plan for health and safety protocols or not. So the next would be the owner may emphasize safety requirements and related expectations during the meetings, the regular meetings. The owner needs to remain responsible for housekeeping around the site. The owner can coordinate regarding safety efforts with contractor for minimizing some vulnerable person may enter construction area or get injured by ongoing construction in an area outside the construction. So the owner need to consider the effort of sensitive operations and perform regular inspection of the sites. And if there is some special provisions that needs to be made regarding the health and safety protocols, health and safety measures, then there can be some things can be added in the bidding document. Like in the early stages, the contractor may ask for some extra amount for maintaining a proper health and safety protocols on the site, for maintaining proper health and safety measures on the site, and the owner needs to comply on that and consider if there is any any possibilities of such things, then they have to work on that also. So these are the major roles and responsibilities of owner during the regarding the health and safety measures. So the next will be roles and responsibilities of supervisor. So now the roles and responsibilities of supervisor is going to be continued by my friend Rajesh. So please Rajesh, will you please continue? Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. This is Rajesh. Now I would like to continue with the roles and responsibilities of a supervisor. The responsibilities of owners and contractors regarding the health and safety in the construction job site is reflected through a supervisor. The roles and responsibilities of supervisors are he should lead an orientation as well as training program for the workers, ensure safe work practices, regularly inspects equipment, tools that are used more often, prevent unsafe and unhealthful workplace conditions or hazards, correct all the unsafe conditions in the site, investigate unsafe work conditions if anything occurs. Here in the diagram, you can see some of the roles and responsibilities are specified. He on the job site, he observes, records, he gives guidance to the workers. He motivates, he plans, he listens, he communicates with the workers and analyzes. He acts as a link between the contractors and owners. He evaluates the work which is performed by the worker. Whereas the roles and responsibilities of contractors, some of the important roles and responsibilities of contractors and subcontractors are listed below. Contractors and subcontractors should comply with all the specific requirements relating to health and safety in the contract documents. Contractors shall have a safety engineer approved by the owner present on the job site at all times during the execution of the project. Contractor must have at least one individual certified in CPR and first aid on site at all times during the execution phase of the project. And the contractor must provide with all the common personal protective equipment required for the work, such as hard hats, safety toe boots, and safety glasses, unless otherwise stated in the scope of the work. All these requirements are very much necessary, and so contractor must be ensuring that he should be providing all these personal protective equipment for the health and safety of the workers. Now my friend Nimesh will continue.
Hi friends, good morning. My name is Naveen George and I am here to present the risk that involved in a two-story residential building. First of all, safety risk. The risk that comes under safety workers are noise, the use of heavy machineries on sites such as machines used by carpenter, plumber, electrician, or JCBs that is used for excavation, creates annoyance around the surroundings as well as workers on the site. This noise will lead to hearing loss, a rise in heartbeat, and loss of concentration among the workers. This can create health issues among the workers, and there may be another issue in communication, which can create accidents or injuries to the workers. Then comes to the height of the building. Increase in height of the building creates increase in risk on the side for attaining height for the work, such as building walls with the help of bricks, plastering, painting, as well as lift of the materials. Scaffolding or temporary ladder is necessary. While working at heights, the worker may fall or slip from the height, which creates an injuries to him. Then comes to the handling of materials. In the two-story building, to build at the height, the materials are needed to lift at height regularly. While doing the handling of materials, there will be a great degree of risk. That is, the material may fall during the lifting of materials, which can create injuries or safety issues on the site to the workers. Slip, falls, and trips. One of the major risks involved is slipping, falling. The worker who works in the height as well as who works on the smooth surface may fall and slip, which create an injuries to the workers. Due to the rain, the surface becomes wet. So rain is an important factor to create slip. Then collapsing. There is a risk of an unexpected or sudden collapse of the building or the things such as scaffoldings that are used for work in the height while construction, which cause serious injuries to the workers. Then comes to excavation hazards. During the excavation, there is a large possibility of accidents due to the collapse of soil in the sides of the excavated area. So the worker and as well as the workers in the site may fall into the excavated area and they can cause serious injuries. Then electricity. The types of equipments that are used in the site need electricity for operating. Most of the materials used in the site are conductors. So if there is any break in the wire, when it touches the conductor, it creates shocks, which can make serious issues to the workers on the site. Then toxic materials. The materials that are used in the site are fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, cement, which can create dust and toxic mixture of hazardous material. This toxic mixture of hazardous material, this can make so many health issues to the workers, such as allergy, breath issues, and lung damages. Then the climatic condition. Climate change such as heat, which can create sunburn to the workers who are working at the heights, as well as rain condition makes slipping on the smooth surface. So it creates severe injuries to the workers according to the climate. Working at night. The risk involved during working at night is the visible power of the worker, which is not same as that of daylight. There will be huge possibility to fall from heights during night compared to the work at daylight. So the workers who are doing overshift may get exhausted, which also creates accidents in the site. The next risk is continuous use of equipment or the power tools. The worker who is continuously using the machine causes numbness in workers in his or her fingers and hands, as well as continuous use of power tools such as vibrating machines creates radiation issues to the workers. Then fire. The use of power tools and electricity in the building site helps to create fire due to the break of electric wire. And lightning also helps to create fire in the work site. So this can cause burning to the workers as well as destroy the wood that is used for construction or windows and doors. Then the risk comes in the written contracts. Improper written contracts can make risk to the owner. Then material issues. Unavailability of material will change the planning of project manager, as well as due to the change in material cause the owner, which will makes financial risk. Then the next issue is labor shortage. A shortage in labor will change the planning daily. So it is risk for the project manager to create planning daily or a schedule. So this can create risk to the project manager. The next topic will be taken by Anita. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm Anita Jacob from this group, and I'm here to talk about the areas to be coordinated and about the safety plan based on our study. The coordination process is proposed as an efficient solution for the weak performance of construction projects. Therefore, Coordination factors are vital in ensuring a successful implementation of all project phases. This report aims to identify and prioritize coordination factors based on our risk assessments that influence the performance of this two-storied building project in the Canadian context as a project manager. Based on our study, the areas needed to be coordinated are mentioned below, that is planning and scheduling, resource management and contacts, records and documentation, contract implementation, and at last, quality and value engineering. In the phase of planning and scheduling, the steps that comes under this process are planning, scheduling, information and details, scheduling level of details, and at last, the feedback process. Planning means to write a note on project execution approaches, and scheduling means to convey time-related information based on the new and actual events. And in information and details, it details about collecting information regarding the project requirements before it's starting. And at last, the feedback process means to facilitate the improvement of plans and tracking job packages over time as schedule requires continuous update. In the phase of resource management and contacts, there are processes like or steps like kickoff meetings, task dependencies, and all parties' participation. And next phase is the records and documentation. In the phase of record and documentation, the steps involved are written correspondence, that means to prepare and review letters and memos, including written clarifications, and to review field reports. And the maintenance of records, that means all drawings, information, directives, verbal instructions, and documents received from each party to others to be kept in hard as well as soft copies. And the drawings of documentation also come under this process. That means the records and documentation phase. It details about the coordination and giving execution plan of the responsibilities to all actors involved in this project. And in the phase of contract implementation, the steps involved are contracting documents, maintaining contract, delegating responsibilities. That means for appropriate project participants, especially on the site within the contract boundary, and follow up the delegated work. And the next step is conflicts resolving and finding better alternatives. That means improving or eliminating activities and considering alternatives that may efficiently meet the contract constraints, and clearing the payments. And the last phase is quality and value engineering, or the quality and performance step. It involves the work integration, defects identification, other parties logistics, then site instructions, arranging tests, corrective actions, design and specifications clarity, alternatives identification. That means in case of defect or damage, for remedial work methods and re-executing programs. And the quality assurance plan and value engineering. That means finding new alternatives for high specification with less cost. A strong relationship between the coordination process and performance of construction projects has been highlighted by many researchers. The findings of this study identified the most important coordination factors that can assist in enhancing the performance of construction projects in Toronto. And next, we will go to the safety plan.
Hello guys, my name is Abhijit and I'm going to present here about safety plan. The construction safety plan is a document that covers or outlines the procedures, rules and regulations that are or will be put in place to protect workers or the course of the construction project. Every project consists of a model to highlight their safety plans, and we also have prepared one for our project. Now, given below are some of the processes that are to be considered in safety plan. Namely scheduling of works, hazard identification, reporting and accident procedures, manual handling, first aid, personal protective equipment, and hazardous substances. Coming to scheduling of works. This process is prepared by the subcontractor, mentioning tasks and their estimated start and completion dates. And the subcontractor has the responsibility for all expenses regarding the coordination of workers. Now coming to hazard identification, reporting and procedures. All work-related injuries, illness, dangerous events, incidents, etc. are to be reported to the site management for assessment and clearance. Daily safety inspections should be held by the site management representative, where a permanent site management representative presence is on the site, and a daily workplace safety inspection report is to be completed. Risk assessments are to be taken prior to commencing any task to assess the risk of injury or damage. If the risk has not already been assessed, the risk assessment form is to be completed, taking into account the control measures like elimination, substitution, engineering, isolation, administration, and personal protective equipment. Now coming to manual handling. This process gives information on lifting and handling of equipment safely without injury, and the use of hand trolleys or other mechanical devices and team lifting in case if the item can be lifted by one person. Now coming to first aid. A suitable first aid kit will be located in the site office for emergency use by all workers. The contractors has to ensure a suitable first aid kit is supplied and kept in each vehicle or in close proximity to the contractor's work area, irrespective of whether the company has supplied first aid kits on the site or not. All first aid treatment is to be reported to the site management for recording on the incident notification forum. Now coming to personal protective kit. Personal protective equipment. Workers should wear appropriate personal protective equipment for the tasks they are to perform, which are not practical to control risk of injury by other means. Safety helmets and safety footwear are to be worn at all times inside. Gloves and protective clothing are to be worn in areas of risk. All defective equipment should be removed from the service immediately upon detection. UV protection is to be worn for protection against harmful exposure to the sun. And contractors should supply all appropriate PPE and ensure the employees have received appropriate instruction in the correct selection, use, storage, and maintenance of PPE prior to use. Coming to hazardous substances. This information provides information and procedures to be carried out and followed when dealing with hazardous substances. The regulations to be followed while dealing with scaffolding, confined spaces, electric equipment, and installation, working at height, etc., are outlined under hazardous substances. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed this presentation.